For today, let's learn some ultra fundamentals of FMT, that is forensic medicine and toxicology. So I wanted to remember three main key terms, that is the IPC, which is the Indian Penal Code. Then you have the CRPC, which is the Criminal Procedural Code. And then I wanted to remember the IEA, which is the Indian Evidence Act. So these are the three main things according to which a lot of things are classified. So now what is Indian Penal Code? As the word suggests, penal is, it will contain the crimes and the punishments for that. It contains a set of instructions for all the crimes and the punishments regards to that. Then we have CRPC. What is CRPC? Criminal Procedure Code. So what does this contain? This contains all those procedures by which a punishment can be given, right? The procedures by which a procedure which the court can imply, right? Or any punishment can be implied. Then we have the Indian Evidence Act, which contains the evidence and the people who are going to come and witness. So the witnesses and the evidences are included in the Indian Evidence Act. Having said that, so now how are you going to remember them? For IPC, I want you to remember, whenever somebody says an IPC, I want you to remember a 5-1-1. So this is a 5-fingered hand, and then this is one finger, this is one finger. So this is, you have to remember 5-1-1. So if somebody comes and tells you an IPC, remember 5-1-1. This is to remember that there are totally 511 amount of articles within IPC, right? So the total number of IPCs are 511. Having said that, so this thing was created or coded in 1860. Then we talk about CRPC. CRPC is a 4-letter word. So 4, double the time, 8, followed by 4. So CRPC has totally 484 articles, or the total number of CRPC codes are 484. Having said that, then I wanted to know that it was coded in 1974. So these are some blank numbers I wanted to remember. Then IEA. If you were to write I, then E, and then A, it looks like a 1. E can somehow be modified to a 6, and then A can somehow be modified to a 7. So totally we have 167 codes in Indian Evidence Act. So these 167 are the total number of articles within Indian Evidence Act, and this was coded in 1872. So the first thing which came up was Indian Penal Code, followed by Indian Evidence Act in 1972, and then you have 1974, we have the CRPC. Having said that, let me quickly make you remember some set of IPCs, CRPCs and IEAs. You know what is res geste? So res geste is during an incident, if a person, during an incident, or if during an accident, or during a trauma, if a person, or by a cross-examination, if a person goes on to say anything subconsciously or just due to the heat of the moment, that is called as res geste. Now this is what? So this is going to be from a witness. So now if this is coming under a witness, this would be an evidence, right? So it is a 6 Indian Evidence Act. How will you remember that? Geste is how many letter word? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So res geste is 6 Indian Evidence Act according to that. Then after that we have so expert opinion. So in any case or any procedure, they would always call upon a expert to give his opinion. So that is going to be your evidence. He is going to be an evidence, right? An expert, like could be a doctor, could be a chemical engineer, whoever for that matter is going to be an evidence. For that, I wanted to remember Indian Evidence Act, of course, is an evidence. So that is going to be 45. Now, how do you remember this? Whenever somebody tells you, we're going to bring in an evidence, tell them 4-5 evidence leke aana, expert leke aana. If somebody tells you, expert leke aunga, tab bolna 4-5 expert leke aana. So that would remind you of 4 and 5. That is going to be your 45 Indian Evidence Act. Then talking about dying declaration. So what is dying declaration? So if somebody is dying, before that he gives a statement. Now there are two things again, dying declaration and dying deposition, but I want you to remember mainly the dying declaration. The dying declaration comes under the act. Again, it's an evidence, right? So dying declaration comes under an evidence. So that comes under the Indian Evidence Act of 32. How will you remember that? Divide the word dying into 3-letter word and a 2-letter word. So DYI and then N and G. So that would be 32. So 32 Indian Evidence Act. Having said that, then we have recently witnessed the great movie apparently, which is RRR. So now I'll tell you about 4 Rs. So now what is 4 Rs? This is a 4R is something characteristic. So usually it is necessary that a warrant is submitted before you arrest them, but not for the condition of 4 Rs. Now 4R involves rape and then heinous crimes such as murder and then conditions like that. So 4 Rs are going to be those conditions. In that 2C CRPC is applied. What is applied? 2C CRPC. Now how do you remember that? 4 Rs. Now I'll tell you what the exact things are involved in 2 CRPC. Right. So they are going to be rape, robbery, and then ragging and negligent or rash driving. So these 4 Rs are going to be rape, robbery, ragging and rash driving. In these conditions, the 4 Rs, we have 2C CRPC. Why is it a CRPC? It's a procedure. What is the procedure? It is arrest without a warrant. It is arrest without a warrant. That is going to be our 4 Rs or 2, which comes under the code of 2 CRPC. And then lastly, something related to pregnancy, which I have indicated through a bump, basically. Bump, right. So this is going to be our 416 CRPC. What is this? So if there is a pregnant woman and she happens to do a murder and then she happens to be given the death penalty. Now if this woman is to be hanged, let's say this is given by a lower court, like a session court. The high courts or the Supreme Court has the power of changing the decision and converting that to a life imprisonment. So that life imprisonment process, so this is a procedure again, isn't it? So from death penalty, this is being converted to a life imprisonment. So now this is, because this is a procedure, this comes under CRPC. And this pregnant woman, this baby bump, I want you to remember this baby bump, pregnant woman with this procedure, that is going to be your 416. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 416. So I wanted to associate this 416. I wanted to vividly imagine a female who's pregnant holding a board which says 416. So that is going to be your 416 CRPC. These are some amount of or very little few number of acts and penal codes. I'm going to be elaborating a lot more about them on the future videos. Thank you.